Also some information about the driving, because the driving that we will do today will be totally different from that what you drive usually, which is mainly related to the surface that we are going to use, and it's also, we play with forces. After we enter the lake, we start to play a very interesting game with forces, driving forces, and we will use them in a quite different way than you are usually using. Just to show you the names, I introduced the team yesterday, so you will have Pea and Julia, Andreas, which is still here, I'm Marco and Raphael will be outside of the Tuareg. Wolfgang will not be out today probably because he is ill, so we have to apologize. Benny will be there and Ronnie, who are the two that are taking mainly care. Where are we? Right now we are in the province of Norrbottensland. That's how the area is called. That's the whole region that you see here in the right. It's going from the coast at the east sea into the center of the country. Above this you have Norway. Yeah, so we're quite high up in the north. We are in the middle of Swedish Lapland. And right now we are around 110 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. This is a district or commune. Yeah, this is one community, one commune of Arbeitsjahr, and the area, the size of the commune is 5,700 square kilometer, which is one commune. I don't know how your places are. I know that Saudi Arabia is not that crowded like Europe is. There's also you don't have so many people in the country. But to give you a sample. This is the same size like the region I live in Germany. And here we have 6,400 or almost 6,500 people living. In the same region in my part of the country is 17 million.
Wow.
Yeah, to give you a comparison of sizes, if you have been in Germany and you know about Cologne and Düsseldorf, which is in the west, yeah, and this part has 17 million people. In the same size, you have around 5,700. You have about 4,000 people living. And so you have a residence number of people per square kilometer of 1.1.
Wow.
So if you get lost, don't expect there is anybody that you can ask for the way. Yeah, you have to look for people that you can ask for the way. Also interesting, number of policemen in this region is 10. Yeah. So you can say you are more lucky if you see one. Yeah. In Arjeplog, which is the next commune above, around this region here, there is the same size of country. There you have 4 policemen. There's even only half of it. Yeah. So residents in summer in the city, that was a commune number, but in the city it's 4,500 people living in the city. In winter it's up to 6,000, only by the test industry. So engineers, testing guys coming up here, and that's really kind of a business which is running up here. The people, for example, leave their houses, rent them out, stay in their summer cabin in the winter, rent out the houses, and that's kind of their earning that they make per year, just of the renting of their places. Why are we here? Because here it's reliable cold. Right now it's quite warm. It's around -10, -15. The coldest temperature ever up here was -52.6. That was in 1966. The coldest temperature that we had in this place was last year -35. And the coldest that we had in general up here was 4 years ago in Arjeplog, that we had -45. Yeah. And then it's really you stay out for 10 minutes. First you don't feel it that's that cold because it's so dry. But the crazy thing is that when you start to feel it, it's already too late. Yeah, then you have freezings in your face. And what is forcing this up, it's a wind chill. So for example, when you have your face outside and the wind is very strong, then the effect is getting higher and higher. And that's why it's really important that if you're outside, it's fine, but when you start freezing, go inside or go inside the car, not that get freezing spots. The traditional economic activities in this region is reindeer farming. I mean, you're lucky you saw 2 already yesterday on the way back from the airport. They run around free in the area, yeah, so they push them together in spring to count them, and they all belong to a family. They are marked in the ears. They have a certain cutting in their ears, so everybody knows who this animal belongs to. But during the winter and the summer, they're running around totally free. They're only pushed together when they separate the herds and try to take out a certain number of animals for farming. And what is extremely strong industry up here is lumber. Yeah, there's lots of wood, so it's really a high industry part. And RBCR is also having a training site for the Swedish K4 elite regiment. So it's an army spot. It's on the other side of the city, and they have a training area in the mountains up there. And this is also international training area. So often you have army guys from other countries coming up here because that's a reliable winter training spot. Like we use it for car winter training. And they use it for army training. We are going to drive on the lake of Arvidsjaur, which is the lake behind the whole city. Yeah. We will offer you 2 circles with a diameter of around 100 meters. So the speed that you will take while we drive inside in the end will be around 80 kilometers in a full drift. So you're really quick then. We have handling courses in different layouts. As you can see on the right side, we have a track 1. In the middle we have a track 2, and then we have the track 3, who all have a different characteristic. And when we combine them all together in the end on Sunday, you will have a track length above 7 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
From start to the finish. And today we will mainly use the dynamic area to make some basics with you, that you get used to the surface, because the cars will react totally different. Yeah? And the dynamic area is about 500 meters long and 80 meters wide. So we have some space, if you lose control of the car, that you have some space to react, then it's not getting dangerous in the beginning. So, what is the idea of the training? We would like to offer you unfamiliar driving surfaces. I promise you that is one. Even for us in Germany, this is extremely unfamiliar because nobody has ice on these roads usually. Yeah. You will get a certain sensitivity for vehicle reactions, and you need them because the vehicle is reacting quite interesting during the next days because there is no friction. Yeah. You will experience physical driving limits, I promise you. That's the situation where Raphael comes in place. Yeah. If you are above the limits, for sure he has some work to do, because then you will lose the track. And I promise you, you will have lots of fun just by working also on your driving abilities. And we will use different types of cars. We'll use the Golfs for sure. But today you will also use a special car called Razor. And the Razor is a quad.
Oh.
Where you sit inside. You can drive it with 2 people. It has a normal steering wheel, and we have a special Razor track. And this idea, the aim of this exercise is, before we start to go on the handling tracks, that you get a feeling to steer the car with the throttle. So we play around with these cars. You will get a certain gear for that. You get overalls and helmets and gloves that you don't freeze and don't get wet, because it's like a convertible. So you're sitting outside. Yeah. But I promise you that will be a very, very interesting story trying this with the Ravens. So, ice is water. Why can we drive on water? Water is offering supportive strengths, believe it or not, if it is prepared in the right way. So it has to be treated properly. The biggest problem is that in the beginning of the season, when it's getting colder, it starts snowing, and the snowing is staying on the water. But the snow is like a blanket. It has an insulating effect. So when there is snow on the water, on the ice cannot grow because it's not getting colder. So the ice can only thicken up if the snow is removed. Sometimes, while removing snow, things may go wrong. Then it is looking like this, yeah. So you can break through the ice when the ice is not thick enough. Yeah. It can happen. That was on our lake 5 years ago, I think, almost. Yeah, it was in the first year. The proper preparation of the ice is a very time-intensive science, yeah, and work. We start to set up our tracks in December. So I went up here mid of December, then we mark all the tracks, we do the line out, and then we go out and the guys that we use up here, first with snowmobiles to remove, compress the snow. Then when the ice is getting thicker, they start to remove the snow, push it out. And from day to day the ice is growing and it's getting thicker. So the question is, how much ice do we need to drive on the lake? Yeah. No ice is carrying nothing. That's a famous summer sport up here, going with snowmobiles over the water. It's just a question of speed. If you're fast enough, you can cross the whole lake. But if you release the throttle, you will go down like a submarine. Yeah. If you have 5 centimeters of ice, you can go with a snowmobile. And 5 centimeters is done here very quick. Yeah, it's not that much. If you have 10 centimeters, you can go with a car. If you have 50 centimeters, you can go up to 40-ton truck. And when you have above 80 centimeters, you can land a plane on it. And we right now have an average of 50 in our lake, 50 centimeters. And some parts we have even more. The ice at the corners is going down till to the ground. Yeah, so we don't have to be scared that you will go down into the water. What happens sometimes in spring, so for example in March, is that when during the day it's getting warmer, the top surface starts to melt, and then during the night it freezes again. But because it's not cold enough in the night, it's not the whole water which melted during the day that is freezing, it's only the top. Then we get so-called double ice. So we have ice, water in between, and then the carrying ice below, which is quite scary for many people because you drive and then the car breaks in. Then you step out, you're standing in the water, yeah, and you think you go down, but there's still ice below. Yeah, we drilled a hole on Monday, and my arm was in there from here to there, and there was still no water coming up. So this was just the size of ice, of wall that we have on the lake. So you can be sure that there is enough surface for you going out. When we drive on the roads, you have seen the reindeers yesterday already. There's three things that you have to take care about. First of all, we always drive with light up here. Our cars are set up in the right way, so you don't have to care about this, but everybody is driving day and night with light. Lights are always on. Sometimes you see black plastic flags on the road. That's a mark that people set up that reindeers are around in this area to give people the information when they pass this area, maybe reindeers crossing the road. And also there is moose or elks around. And if it's getting dangerous, the animal is not moving and you will not be able to brake. The biggest problem is always if you have an injury or an accident with an animal, if you hit the animal at the front and you have a male animal, then you have all the horn, which might walk through your car and you're sitting inside. So the recommendation from the locals is always, if you can't get away from the animal, always target on the back part of the animal, not on the front, because they never go backwards. If they start to move, they go forward. Yeah? And if you target to the back and the animal starts to move, then you're safe because the animal is moving out of the way. Yeah? And you're away from the horn. So if you're focused, then please on the back and not on the front. Alright. Before we start driving, we should speak a little bit about driving physics, which is quite important for that what we are doing during the next days. First of all, you know, driving has something to do with anticipation and experience. So only those who recognize risks, if you understand that there is a risk, can avoid those. Yeah, and there's always the same 3 safety maneuvers that you're going to do. So when things get critical, what do you do? What is your reaction when things get tight while you drive? You accelerate?
Common consensus is slam on the brakes, right?
Right. Yeah. Braking is always the first reaction that we should do. Yeah. Actually, that's here the same. When it's getting tight, press the brake. Yeah. The second is evasion, so kind of avoiding, yeah, start to steer, to react. And the third is a combination of both, braking and steering at the same time. So that's the 3 points that you always should have in mind. It's always bad when you say, okay, this will not work, and then you put everything away. Yeah. So try to work on the car until the end, yeah, even when it's getting critical. 85% of the information that you need for driving is visual information. So to be honest, you are not driving the car with your hands, you are driving the car with your eyes. Yeah? Can we drive when we are not able to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah? But can you drive when you can't see? No, impossible. Yeah. So visual information, 85% is the main key for driving. And I promise you, during the next days, if you look to the wall, you will catch it. Yeah? The wall is not jumping on the road. Yeah? But your eyes follow the wall, so you will hit the wall. Yeah? So always stay with your eyes viewed to the distance where you would like to go to, and be concentrated on the road. If you look to the point which is critical, this is always the same. The eyes get bigger. Yeah? Oh, there's a huge wall, and it would be so easy. Just look 3 meters next to the wall, then you will go there. But if you keep your eyes on the wall, you will hit it for sure. Yeah. I have a little experiment for you to explain you how difficult it is to be focused with your view. Okay. So I have a remote control here. You see the yellow LED on the back, and when I will press now, there will be a number coming up here. Okay. So be concentrated on this yellow spot, and tell me the number that you have seen. Okay? Everybody's focused? 3, 2, 1. Which number was it?
No number.
No number? Okay. I mean, it's crazy. It's just a sticker. Yeah? How many cars have been on the page behind me? 7? About 7?
5 to 7.
Okay. What was it? What was the color of the one in the second row on the right?
I got brownish, but
Okay. What's the distance between me and the frame? Half a meter?
half meter.
Yeah.
80 centimeters.
So, just get this. Yeah. I mean, it's half a meter of distance. Yeah, and we are not able to focus on that picture. Yeah. So if you are not focused on the view, the point where you really want to go to, you will not catch it. Yeah? And view guidance is extremely important. We as humans, we have a so-called peripheral view of 175 degrees. I can see, when I have my view straight to the front, that there is something happening here. Yeah, I can see that my fingers are moving. But when I have them in front of my face, and I concentrate and focus my fingertips, and keep my focus here, and just move my fingers for 1 centimeter, it starts to get unsharp. Because we cannot focus on that point. So if you are not focused on the point where you would like to go to, you will be lost. Yeah? So 85% of the information is visible information, which needs to be controlled in the right way. Yeah? That's the first and most important point for all this. 7 kilometers of tracks that we're going to drive on Sunday, you will never recognize the whole track. So you need to look where is the track going to. Yeah. And when it's light out like this today, everything is white. Yeah. So there's not so much contrast. It's not like a normal road where you have a black band going around that you can follow. So view guidance is really, really important for us. And yeah, this is the main aim also of the exercises that we do. Yeah, when we drive a slalom, if you look to the cone, I will promise you, you will hit the cone. The idea is to look in the gap in between, yeah, and to look straight ahead. Because you will not hit the cone if you don't look at it. But if you go with your view from gap to gap to gap, then you always will stay in the gap. Yeah, if you look on the cone, I will promise you, you will hit it. That's why view guidance is so important. And as I said, driving of cars is playing with forces. Yeah? And we will play with the forces quite hard during the next days, in a very unusual way. So there's many forces influencing your car. What forces do we play with? Gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah.
Friction.
Friction.
Steering.
Yeah. Natural forces. And what is the most important one when we're going to want to go forward or want to brake? acceleration and deceleration. Yeah? So we have acceleration force, we have braking force, we have the gravity force, and we have the lateral force. Gravity force, there some people have more advantage than others. Yeah? It's always depending to your own shape. If you have more weight on the car, yeah, for sure you have more friction at the same time. But the bad thing is that you need to accelerate all these forces that you bring into the car. Yeah? That's the disadvantage of it. So it's always a mix of both. And now we have to speak about how many force can be transmitted. And if you drive a car on a road, you have a limit of friction, a limit of adhesion. And this limit is always related to the surface. So when I accelerate, going forward, I can push the throttle quite hard when I'm on dry tarmac. Because then there is high friction, the car has a lot of friction, so I can go quite hard forward. The sad story is, if I do two things in the same time, I'm accelerating and steering, then I have two forces that come in play. Acceleration force and the lateral force, because I start to steer. And these two forces always produce a so-called sum of forces. So both forces have to be seen together. So when I'm accelerating hard and I start to steer in the same time, these two forces get added and build a limit, a maximum which goes up to the limit. And if you accelerate too hard, or if you steer too much, you're above the limit. So you're above the limit of that what the tire can transmit to the ground. And then you're at the point where we try to go to, yeah? To bring the car in a certain instability, but in a controlled way. So we play with these forces. We are always playing around this corner, yeah? To bring the car in this unstable movements, but in a controllable way. On dry roads, when you're above the forces and you have a slip of friction, then the reaction is even worse. Yeah. Okay.
A question, please. Now,
yes.
in asphalt, dry summer days, usually the tires get stickier to the ground whenever you build up the heat,
yes.
up to certain limit.
Yes.
Now, is it here? I know it's snow tires, and sometimes they use the chain, and sometimes they use the spikes or the studded tires.
Right.
Are we going to use anything like this, or just plain
Spikes.
snow tires?
No, we have spikes.
Spikes.
Yeah. These cars have 400 1.5 millimeter spikes inside. If you would use normal winter tires, you would not be able to drive on ice. Because the car would not, it would accelerate in a certain time, especially when you have a 4-motion car.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is you have no steering at all. Yeah? So you would just go straight if you start to steer, because then we are exactly at this point, the circle on ice would be small like this, yeah, and not like that, because the grip limit is extremely low, yeah, which will be also a problem for you personally. We'll come to this later, but really take care when you leave the car. When you open the door, put your feet out. We had many people leaving the car like this, yeah, going longer and longer and longer because one foot was already going like that,
Slipping,
yeah,
all the way.
yeah. We have no chance to put salt on the ice. Yeah. So the wheel can transfer certain forces. The question now is, what do these forces depend on? Yeah. It's the weight we already spoke about that you push onto the ground, and it's the friction of the surface. And this surface has no friction at all. Yeah. So, in the end, we start to work with these forces, and we start to work with the weight. Yeah? The weight that you put on the ground. And when you drive a car and you accelerate, you use the forces and you change forces. When you accelerate,
Weight shifting.
you have a weight shifting. Yeah? So when you stand, Ronny, habe ich einen Fehler gerade drin? Guck mal, hier sind die Zahlen falsch rum. Ronny?
Ja, bitte?
Sind hier die Zahlen auf einmal falsch rum?
Nee, ist im Moment Static. Und dann
So that's a standing car, sorry,
Yes,
that's a
yes.
standing car because the car is already moving to the back. So standing car you have usually 60-40. Yeah? When you start to accelerate, the car is moving backwards, so you change load to the rear. Then you have 65 in the rear and only 35 in the front. Remember the picture with the circle. When I now start to steer in the same time, the tire has less pressure on the ground because the weight is going to the back, so you have less forces that you can put in the steering. Yeah? You have more force that you can put in acceleration, but less in steering because the steering is unloaded. The front axle is unloaded. If you brake, the relation changes completely. So when you start braking, the force is going to the front. You have more pressure on the front tires. So then it's easier to put pressure on the steering, because the tire is already pressed to the ground. And this play of load change is something very important for the next days. We will play with the load change already today to give you a feeling of how can I easily change or turn the car just by load shifting, moving load from front to the rear. So we play with these load changes a lot. Before we start, one last point. First of all, please follow the instructions that Ronnie and Benny will give you when we are out at the ice. If we give you speed limitations, they have a reason. When they tell you this exercise works with 50, I promise you it will not work with 100. There's an idea behind it. Right now we are only one group, so it's easy to stay with that. Tomorrow when we are two, both groups will run the same program, just with a day difference. And Sunday we will run the program together. If you see any lamps flashing up in the car, I will promise you, you will definitely see the tire pressure monitor coming up. That has to come up, because when you drive on the ice and you get contact with the snow and the snow walls, you get snow in the rims. And this snow is freezing, and so you have an unbalanced tire. And the ABS sensor is detecting that the tire is unbalanced, which is an indication for less pressure. And that's why the yellow lamp will come up. Just let us know this when it's there, then we check if there is a puncture, which usually is not. And then we keep it like it is. Because if we set the tire pressure always new, every time you get new snow inside, you will get the lamp again. So then just ignore it. We cannot take it off at this point. As I told you, when you leave the car, make sure that you have a safe stand. Because if not, you really will fly off your car. You will be in the car with two people, and there is the famous co-driver sickness. Because we will not go straight, we will have many movement in the car. If you feel not that good on the co-driver side, don't wait until it's getting too strange, and promise me the glove box is not big enough. So just open the door, get out, and try to catch some fresh air, that we have no accidents inside the car, according to co-driver sickness. All right. Any questions so far from your side? Good. Then I would say,
Hasta la vista.
hasta la vista. Take all your stuff, take whatever you like. If you would like to take some drinks, we have drinks outside too in our tipi. And Ronnie and Julia already prepared the cars outside.